What's up, folks? Anthony Armstrong here, former NFL receiver and host of Believe in Commanders. And with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. It's a league specifically created for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or league. Now, if you need help making those selections, you want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players, you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Now, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on daily fantasy sports. You pick 2 or more players, choose more or less in whatever statistical category, and then you rack in the winnings up to 25x on your cash on your DFS picks. Make your way over to prizepicks.com/believe and use the code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for a first deposit match up to $100. You must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Want to be sure you always look your best? The Reflections LED Rose Gold Makeup Mirror from Conair makes it easy, with all the features you need to groom and apply makeup with precision. Lifetime LED lighting won't ever dim or diminish, no replacement bulbs needed. One-time magnification provides a full view, or 10 times magnification for close-up tweezing and details. Designed with a beautiful rose gold finish, the mirror rotates at 360 degrees, with a 7.5-inch viewing surface to attend to every feature. Makes a great gift. Go to Conair.com for the Reflections LED Rose Gold Makeup Mirror now.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht.
Hello, and welcome to Gegenpressing, the Bundesliga podcast from the Football Grad Network. I'm your host, Bryce Dunn, and joining me, as always, is Chris Williams. Chris, how have you been this week?
Bryce, I've been really good, thank you. It's good to speak to you again. I'm a little tired. I've been at a wedding all weekend, so I'm like deep into extra time, 119 minutes tired, but I think I've still got a good hour left in me because I trained that hard.
Don't worry, when Manu's talking, we'll get you down and we'll stretch out those calves and we'll keep you going.
And but, also, yes. Bryce, I thought last week couldn't be topped, but this week is going to be topped. And it's nothing to do with football that's being played on a pitch, which is brilliant. Because it's nice to talk football, isn't it? But sometimes it's nice to talk what's going on, and this has been another crazy week.
Yeah, well, that's it. Obviously, the Bundesliga isn't on at the moment because it's the summer break, but there's an awful lot going on off the pitch, isn't there? There's plenty to talk about. We seem to say that every week, but there always is. But yeah, we'll move over to another person that joins us every week, and that's Manuel Veth. Manu, how's your week been? You're still in Germany, aren't you?
Yeah, still in Munich, still covering mostly the craziness that is 1860. And I know our guest is probably laughing hard and strong about this, but yeah, still covering a lot about that. But there's been some stuff going on at Bayern, and I think that's going to be a big topic. But yeah, Chris, just need to mention this real quick. We trained you really hard in Berlin. You should be all right.
Oh, yeah. That Leipzig trip was good training.
Yes, it was, most certainly. But yeah, as Manu said, we do have another guest with us this week. We did have Max on last week, and this week we've got something quite special, really, all the way from America. We've got Susie Schaaf. Susie, you're a bit of a Bayern Munich expert, but tell us more about yourself and what exactly you do.
Oh, wow. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on. I've spoken with Manu on a different pod before, so it's a pleasure to make my debut on Gegenpressing. I'm an American born with a Brazilian-German father and a German mother, and kind of grew up watching the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. I'm from Florida, with Gerd Müller and George Best in the late 70s, and evolved into my Bayern fandom from there, and been a lifelong supporter. And I don't know what to say. I think I've been writing about football now. I kind of jumped into it on accident for about close to 10 years. And currently don't write so much. I talk a lot more, which may be not a good thing. But I was with the ESPN for 6 years, writing about DFB and Bayern, and now I do articles for Bayern Central, Bundesliga Fanatic, and I'm doing some editing and podcasting work for In Bed with Maradona, which is very exciting for me. I get to step out of my German fandom a lot more into world football, and that's something I'm really, really looking forward to do.
Wow. Well, yes, thank you very much for coming on, Susie. We really appreciate you taking the time out. And yeah, but we're going to have plenty to talk about, especially a certain player moving over to Bayern. But we're going to just go back to Chris briefly and speak about his side, Borussia Dortmund. They've had a fairly busy, off season, and appointing a new manager. Chris, what can you tell us about the new man at the helm?
Oh, well, he's come from Ajax. So anyone that watched the Europa League or any of the Dutch League last year will be fully versed in him. Peter Bosz. Correct pronunciation is Bosz. He looks to be a perfect fit for me. If you look at the way Ajax play, they're a very young side, very talented young side as well. Crucially for me, it's the formation that they play throughout the season. So 4-3-3 offensive, which, as we've talked on this pod many a time, is the preferred formation for Borussia Dortmund, out-and-out attack, which is what the three of us have talked on. And I've been lucky enough to go and see a couple of times last season. It's the way he works with young players for me that I think this is going to be really, really key. I'm very excited to see the way he's going to line up. I think a big future with Christian Pulisic and Dembele on the flanks, and I think now we're going to look like we're going to see Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang up front again next season. Also signed Maximilian Philipp as well this week, with Marco Reus out with some time with the injury to his ACL. So it's been a really good week. But yes, the acquisition of Bosz is... They had to move quick, didn't they? Tuchel went, and you can't have a vacuum like that. When you've got such talented players, the last thing you want is a managerial vacuum when you've got other clubs sniffing around them and trying to unsettle them and trying to move them on. And they moved very quickly to bring Bosz in. And I'm very excited to see next season. We've all said previously that Dortmund are a young side and they stand on the cusp of making that next step because of the youth they've got and the talent within that youth. They're going to be good for the next 4, 5, 6 seasons, I would think, and then the youngsters are going to hit full prime. So the acquisition of Bosz is a masterstroke for me. I'm really, really excited. Whether he continues to get on with the managers above him and the board, it's something we saw in Ajax. Maybe he had a little bit of confrontation. But we'll have to wait and see. All the signs are so good so far. I watched the Facebook Live press conference when he arrived. He seems very, very happy. He seems a good fit. He's fluent in German as well, which I think was one of the key drivers for him to be recruited, as well as his coaching ability. He can speak to the players fluently. So it's going to be a good few weeks, I think, because the German transfer market's been moving quick and fast and rapid in comparison to other parts of Europe. So I'll be interested to see if they bring anybody in. I heard a couple of ramblings, especially with the likes of Traore, but obviously he's owned by Chelsea at the moment. But that's supposedly a key enabler of Bosz coming in so quickly, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Borussia Dortmund heavily linked with him in the next couple of days and weeks.
And Manu, what do you think? Do you think Peter Bosz is going to be a good addition to the Bundesliga?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he has a Bundesliga past. He's played for Hansa Rostock and he's even defeated Hansa Rostock, Borussia Dortmund at one point. Something that was brought up, I believe, in the press conference as well. I mean, I mentioned this on this pod before. I have a close connection to Ajax just because of the time I've spent in the Netherlands, living in Amsterdam, and it's a club that's always been very dear to me. And I think they were one of the most exciting teams to watch last year in Europe proper. And this includes Monaco, that was everyone's darling. The side was 22.7 years old on average. And I'm not talking about starting 11s here. I'm talking about the entire squad at Amsterdam. And he formed a team that did very well in the Netherlands, despite not winning the title. Feyenoord was just a little bit too strong, a little bit more experienced, and, had a high point average. Ajax's point average last year was 2.13. That's very good. And it was the type of football that they played too. With the side that they had, always full throttle. Of course, at times, they lacked that defensive stability that they needed to perhaps unsettle Manchester United in the final. There was, of course, a couple scary moments for them against Schalke in the quarterfinal, where they almost went out despite the 2-0 lead. And then against Olympique Lyon, the same thing happened to them. But I think that was mostly about age and a little bit of scare about, playing in big European stadiums. But they handled themselves very well, I thought, and they handled themselves quite well in the league too. He's also resurrected the career of one player who is heavily featured the Confederations Cup for Germany, Armin Younes, who has had all the tools necessary to be a very, very good player, but couldn't really translate that to good playing time, and went to Amsterdam 2 years, and which was an unorthodox move for a young German player, and saw him now in both national team games over the last week or so, and he was excellent in both, and a fantastic player to watch. And Peter Bosz made that happen. He formed this player. And there's a couple other players, in that squad where you can just see, in German you say there's a klare Handschrift, a clear handwriting, and he has that. You can tell this is Peter Bosz football. And that's playing 4-3-3, playing attacking style football, and playing attractive football. And that's the kind of Amsterdam school, but I feel that that's also Borussia Dortmund's aspirations to play like that. And it's similar to what, of course, Klopp played: gegenpressing, high attacking lines, trying to get the ball quickly and move across the field quickly. And I think that's a very good fit. I was a bit surprised about the rumblings I heard when he left, the fight that he had with the Ajax bosses. And judging from my experience in living in the Netherlands is that, because what I heard throughout the season at Ajax was that he actually handled that situation of having to deal with all these big personalities at Ajax. And Ajax is the equivalent of Bayern in the Netherlands, right? There's a lot of big personalities in the room. And he handled that quite well. It only really fell apart when he announced that he wanted to take the step to Borussia Dortmund. And there's a lot of pride in Dutch football, and there's a lot of pride around Ajax Amsterdam. It's a symbol of Dutch football. It's a symbol of success. And I think that they took it almost in a bit of the wrong way. And that was really what the falling out was, because throughout the season, it actually worked quite well, even with Dennis Bergkamp, who you didn't have the best relationship with. So I think in that department, they will be actually all right. You have to remember, Borussia Dortmund paid a lot of money for this guy. So, Ajax wouldn't have had demanded that if there would have been issues. So I think personally, it's a very interesting choice. We're not going to lie, it was not the number one choice. That was Lucien Favre. That didn't happen. And they were moved quickly and got the B option. And I think this B option is a very good option, because he has shown that he can work with young players very well.
And Susie, how will Bayern Munich look at this? Will they be nonplussed? They're going to win the league anyway, or are they going to be a little bit wary of this new guy coming in with quite a big, exciting attacking reputation?
So my personal feeling about Bayern Munich's tactics is that they're boring now, and it's kind of a pleasure to see Bosz coming in just from a German football fandom perspective. Period. Correct. Right. The work he's done with Ajax, although I want to say that I would have maybe liked to have seen that experiment go a little bit longer than it did. And I think Manuel will back me up on that as well, just as kind of a sympathetic type of team. The 4-3-3 looks really good, and especially with Dortmund's ever-threatening front line, could cause problems. I'm excited. I always look forward to every season, and I like a closer competition. I don't think it's necessary for Bayern to win the league by 15, 19, 25 points. To me, as a homer, as a fan, you kind of want to beat everybody's butt. But I think if teams can start to get closer and to keep it close all season, it just makes it better for the league overall as far as watchability around the world.
Well, you need the competition, don't you? The best times at Bayern, you need the competition as Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Because the best times you had were when Borussia Dortmund was as strong as when we look back at 2013 at the Champions League final, those two teams were almost on level. Yeah. And that's not the case right now. And I think for the league to be successful in Europe, you need to have 2 or 3 teams that can challenge Bayern on a consistent basis.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Chris, can I ask you a tactical question? Do you see Bosch ever using 3-5-2 again, or has that gone the wayside as Tuchel has left the club?
Well, that's a brilliant question. I think going by just what he's done with Ajax, it has been, I checked last season just so I was complete on this, the only time he deviated from the 4-3-3 offensive is he played 4-3-3 defensive, and then very, very early on in the season, in the Champions League qualifier against PAOK, he played a 5-3-2, and they won. They won 2-1 away from home. So maybe he might take a couple of weeks, maybe I'd say up to match day 5, match day 6, to see how his 4-3-3 is going. I think it will be his first choice. It would be my first choice, and Manu and Bryce and I have debated on this in the past, why Tuchel didn't go 4-3-3 at times and sort of upset the apple cart with a way of dropping points here and there throughout the season, which undoubtedly left them in third place in the end and not a higher challenger. So I would be surprised if he changed, but he will obviously be guided by who's available, what their fitness levels are, if there's any sort of damage to either Pulisic or Dembele. I think he may try and look to bring in Philip on a maybe more of a less straight in, thrown into the deep end with the 4-3-3. He may look to adapt it slightly, but I would be very surprised, if maybe until match day 6 we saw 4-3-3 offensive every single game, unless for some unknown reason Dortmund stumble again early on in the season, which I can't really see now with Bosch coming in. But stranger things have happened. I would be very surprised, Susie, if he deviated from his preferred and what we would all agree is Dortmund's preferred formation.
The 3-5-2 was horrible. You know my opinion on 3-5-2. We spoke about it many times in this pod. It was horrible. Every time it didn't work.
I mean, I like the formation in general. I just didn't like it for Dortmund, which made me giggle about it. But yeah, I totally get it and see the merits of 4-3-3 with the side under Bosch next season for sure.
Manu, Chris mentioned that it looks like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is not going to be at Dortmund next season. But what exactly is going on there? I mean, there's plenty of talk about him going to PSG. Is he now staying? Is he going? Obviously, Maximilian Phillips has come in from Freiburg as well. That was a signing this week. Is he just going to be, a bit of a backup player, or what exactly is going on with Dortmund and transfers at the moment?
Yeah, Philip is the replacement for Royce, because Royce got operated on the ACL yesterday. Well, we found out about yesterday. It happened on Wednesday, but those who know a bit more about what's going on knew that this was the case. An ACL injury is something that needs to be operated on when you have it to that magnitude, and that means 6 to 8 months. That's just the reality of the injury. So Dortmund had to bring in a replacement for Royce, and Philip is the perfect player for that. He's not a replacement for Aubameyang. I know that Aubameyang is in Los Angeles right now. He was seen there this morning with his family. So he's not, unless he's moving to LA Galaxy, which I think is highly doubtful. He is not prepping up for a transfer anytime soon. I know that the Sportbild heavily backpedaled on that rumor that they created about him moving to Paris Saint-Germain. Now, all of a sudden, because PSG changed the sporting director, they're not interested anymore. I think there wasn't anything to the story to begin with, because Borussia Dortmund never got an offer. And I believe, Watzke, that he has to actually say if there was a substantial offer, because they are a traded company. They have to announce it. And if they say there wasn't, then obviously it's not true. So Sportbild, not always the most reputable paper to begin with in Germany, but I think they really shot themselves in the foot there. There is an offer from China, and that offer is enormous. It's 100 million euros over 4 years. It's a substantial, it would be a substantial, if they would go through with it, because there's no offer to Borussia Dortmund, it's just to the player. But I would assume that would be in the region of 100 million euros. So I think that is really what Aubameyang is thinking about. But Chris, we've talked about this so many times. He's not going to go to China, surely. So I think for now, I would say he will stay around. And if there is no announcement till July 1st, he's not going anywhere. I know there's a lot of people in Germany saying, well, in England, they don't start with transfers till later. Borussia Dortmund are not going to wait till later, because they need to start planning and get their season start going. This is how it works in German football. They don't want to pull a Wolfsburg, sell their best players in August and don't have replacements for them. That's just not going to happen. So I think I personally tend towards saying he's definitely staying. And then if there's nothing happening till July 1st, I'll say that absolutely he's staying.
Well, you know how our predictions go, so you never know what way that one could go. But if we're speaking about China, we've seen Roger Schmidt go there. You never know. Maybe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang could sign him and play for him. Fat chance of that happening, I would imagine. But speaking of Roger's previous sides, we obviously mentioned him being at Bayern Leverkusen many times, talking about how and when he was going to get the sack. And good luck to him in China and all. But Bayer Leverkusen actually have a new manager this week. They've got a guy in from Jan Regensburg. I probably pronounced that wrong. I always do. But they've brought in Coach Herlich, who's managed to get them promoted 2 years on the bounce. But yes, Susie, if we look at Bayer Leverkusen, I mean, a side that really didn't do very well at all last season, do you think Herlich is going to be the man to awaken this sleeping giant, or do you think it's a bit of a gamble on their behalf?
I don't know. I think it's a bit of a gamble. Obviously, his history with the Leverkusen, as he played for them, as well as Gladbach and BVB. The positive leading Regensburg from 4th to 2nd division in a few seasons is fantastic. But his one big shot at the Bundesliga, I think it was Bundesliga level, correct? Mm-hmm. With Bochum?
Yeah.
Right? And he didn't finish the season. He ended up 4 wins, 10 losses, and 8 draws. So, granted, that was a few years ago. Maybe it's his time to shine. You always get the feeling that for whatever reason, Leverkusen just can't quite get it right. Is Herrlich is he the turn? Is that the difference? It is a gamble. It's also an attractive gamble. I like the fact that Bundesliga are hiring German coaches within the lower divisions and promoting, fairly young guys as well. It's going to be a big question. I think that maybe there were some Leverkusen fans hoping possibly Tuchel would take over, but Tuchel is taking a gap year now, correct? And maybe we'll see. So, and I'm not quite sure what their options may have been, but hey, I guess roll the dice and gamble. I really enjoyed Roger Schmidt when he came initially. I think he had this great plan that the team could never quite get figured out. And then he couldn't change either. He had a plan A and a plan A. And that was it. So, yeah, it's a gamble, but hey, why not see how it goes?
Manu, what about you? How do you see Bayer Leverkusen's year being? Do you see their fortunes changing, or like Susie says, do you think they'll remain Leverkusen?
I like this appointment, actually. I think for some odd reason, it just when they announced it, I thought this could work. I don't have, other than the years that he had at Jan Regensburg, and he did manage 2 promotions in 2 years. One of those promotions wasn't the greatest experience for myself, but he did manage it, and he worked wonders with a team that no one expected to get promoted to Bundesliga 2. His point average 1.64 now, for Jan, that doesn't sound amazing, but he, after the years in Bochum, he took a step back. He went to Unterhaching, and then he went into the Bayern system with the U17. And I think that did him very well. I think it was a good move for him to take a step back and just take a look at it and then rebuild his career from the bottom up. And I mean, Bayer didn't really have any other options. They wanted Peter Bosch, but Bosch didn't, obviously preferred Borussia Dortmund, and Tuchel wasn't available because I think Tuchel has bigger fish to fry. And I think this could be one that could work out for them. It's going to be a tough year for him because they will sell some players. Chicharito, sadly, because I actually like Chicharito quite a bit, it could be one to go. Brandt is probably gone. So we'll see, but it could work out. He does seem to have a plan, and he has learned to have a plan B and C. And I agree 100% with Susie. Roger Schmidt's biggest problem was he had one plan, and that one plan only. He was so stubborn to stick to that one plan that it cost him the job.
Well, let's hope that the Chinese can get hold of that plan, and they can drive forward. Maybe. Do you see Manu, maybe Brandt or Chicharito staying in the Bundesliga?
No. I think Brandt is. I know Bayern really hoped that they would land him, but Brandt is going to go abroad. And Chicharito, I really would like to see him in the league because, Susie, you live in the United States. You know how big of a marketing tool that guy is for the Mexicans living there, right? He is huge. He is the biggest asset as a player that the league has. And it would be very good for him to stay. Whether Bayer can hang on to him with all Champions League football, I find that one difficult.
Yeah, I've heard talk that he may end up in France, but I suppose you never know what may happen. But yeah, Chris, Bayer Leverkusen weren't the only side to get a new head coach this week, were they? It looks like Schalke have as well. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, that's another strange one, isn't it? Obviously, poor old Marcus had a bit of a stinker, didn't he? And we debated earlier on, didn't we? At the start of the season, we chatted round about Christmas, didn't we? Where I don't know if it was you, Bryce, or Manu, thought he might get moved on, and I said he might just get given a little more time because of the injuries they've had and because of the stumble, and then they sort of brought it back and they pushed up high, but in the end, it wasn't happening, and wow, Conor Pianka just came out and stuck the knife straight in, didn't he? Calling him a coward, live on Ukrainian television, and he was pretty much sacked quickly after that.
Joke in Germany right now is Conor Pianka fired Weinziel live on Ukrainian television. Yeah,
and that has to be because He came out, didn't he, and said, he's going to get a bit of a fine for that. And about 20 seconds later, he was sacked. So it didn't go down well. That just shows you the discourse, obviously, that was in the dressing room then. If Conor Pianka, who was a good player, but he wasn't a dedicated in and out first name on the team sheet, if he's got the wherewithal within him to say, actually, do you know what? I'm going to call you out on live television. See what you can do about it. He obviously had information you would think that he was going. It's just they've hired someone who I don't know. If you've had a bad season, Schalke Champions League team signed the Europa League captain in Koke from Sevilla. Were expected to do wonders last season, and they didn't. It all fell to pieces with multiple injuries, stuttering starts, a little bit of a pullback, and then all of a sudden they're getting Tedesco from out of all places. Team that don't excite me. Lucky enough, I cycled through that area once. It's beautiful, and their stadium is very nice, and it's a very green, hilly area. And if you're on a cycle ride through Germany, I would suggest going through it. But football-wise, they're awful.
Come on, they definitely have turned it around a little bit while he was there, were they not, towards the end of the season?
Okay, so let's have a look. Match day one, after the end of match day one, they were in 17th place. Now, you can't judge the league after one game, but they went all the way up to 6th on match day 2, and then, they were just hanging around in the red zone after that. It was match day 10.
They fired their coach and brought this guy in to save the season.
Yeah, but he saved the season a little bit, but if it's Schalke, go and get someone else, I would say, because they can't afford another stumble. They've already had Koscielniak leave. That's going to be massive. Matip left the season before. Look at the effect that he had once he'd gone. I think that with Koscielniak going, that's going to have the same sort of defensive knock-on that happened when Matip left. So I would have liked to have seen them gone for I wouldn't like to, obviously, because they're massive rivals. But I can only see this ending, poorly. I mean, look when he came in. He came in match day 24, didn't he? And he pulled them out, sort of. But I would suggest that on this, that was more the teams around him faltering. Than Au all of a sudden starting to play like Barcelona.
Yeah, they had 1.82 points in his 11 games, but I do think you have a point because it's a massive gamble. He's a 31-year-old. This was his first job in German football, and yes, he did rescue Aue, and that was a good job, a job well done. But 11 games in coaching experience in professional football. That's it. This could all
only happen in Germany, though. I feel that they actually are willing to give the chance to a coach's an experience that as young as this.
Yeah, but Schalke are a big team. They're a big team that have faltered, like Bayer Leverkusen, a big team that have faltered. It's not good for me. This.
Well, this is a typical Heidel move in some ways because he did the same with Tuchel and Klopp at Mainz, but Schalke are not Mainz. A young coach like that needs an environment where he can build, right, and have the time to succeed and the time to build something. And Mainz is the perfect breeding ground for young coaches because it is quiet there. And even a relegation isn't the end of the world, although it hasn't happened to them in a long time. It isn't the end of the world as long as you play the right kind of football and you have the proper ideas, right? Schalke is a shark tank. It's run by a businessman who does most of his meat-producing business in Russia and had brought in Gazprom as a main sponsor. It's not a happy, lucky environment. And I think that is something that we have to consider here. I think it's a gutsy move by Heidel, but it's a Mainz move, not a Schalke move. And I think this could be one that will go either very well or very bad. There's not going to be a middle ground here.
I'm saying he's sacked by October.
Oh, that's a big gamble.
Good Lord. Susie, can you give us any positivity on this? Good Lord.
Yeah, Manu basically said what I was going to say is that this is a huge gamble by Heidel, and maybe Heidel is resting on his Mainz reputation to pull this off and to see it through. But I have to agree completely with what he said, that cauldron of very happy people that is Schalke and their fans is probably that's probably not the right place for Tedesco to be starting his Bundesliga career. The positive for me is we all have notebooks of sad Schalke fans pictures, folders in our computers. So, we may get some a lot of use out of those this season.
Well, remember what happened to Weinziel? Weinziel got butchered there, absolutely murdered, and he came from a small market team and had a bigger reputation than this guy. And Tedesco finished together with Nagelsmann. He had the highest grades in the class that Nagelsmann was in. But being a good concept coach in Aue or Hoffenheim or Mainz or Freiburg, environments where you can build, where you can bring through a concept and you can work in peace.
It's something completely different. Than at Schalke week in and week out. Yeah, I'm totally in agreement.
I think this has all the hallmarks of Ishmael Mark II at Wolfsburg. Promised loads, comes in, gets an appointment after a few games. It's an emergency appointment, and then actually, we need to get rid of him, and all of a sudden we're on our second manager of the season, and we're on match day 7.
Well, it reminds me, what it reminds me of when Zorniger became head coach at Stuttgart. That was a similar. Everyone praised Zorniger for his work and his concepts and how well it works and everything. And then they didn't have the results and he was gone. Because Stuttgart is similar in that regard. It's a big club with a huge fan base, emotional fan base too. And this has this written all over for me too. And then, Zorniger went to Copenhagen and he's doing a fantastic job there, right? Because he can work there in peace. I would have liked to see Tedesco maybe get a bit more experience before he does this. But, well, I wish him the best of luck. I hope it works out.
Wow, so we're more in agreement that it's more the club rather than the actual manager, Tedesco. Is that right?
Absolutely. Like, look what happened to Weinziel. And I mean, this is the joke. Konoblanka fired Weinziel live on Ukrainian television. No other club in Germany could have managed this. That, one of the big stars goes back home on television. And we're talking live television,
Multi. Yeah, for me, Bryce, you've hit the nail on the head. It's a good appointment. It's just the wrong club after the season they had last season.
Then what type of manager would be the best fit for the likes of Schalke? We're talking about how Schalke are such a troubled club and so difficult to steer them in the right direction. But, they're still known as a big club, it's very much like Leverkusen. They're a bit of a sleeping giant. I mean, Susie, who do you think would be, or what kind of manager would be or coach would be the ideal person for the role?
Gosh, you're putting me on the spot. Okay, I'm going to give you a level and not necessarily, I'm going to throw out some names, but like that sort of level, right? So it's got to be like a Favre Magath kind of level.
Okay, that's fair enough. So,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know like what you mean.
Fair assessment. A big German name has to be to stand up to not necessarily Heidel. I think Heidel has good intentions, but to the club in general and to be a presence in that cauldron, if you will. Do you guys get what I'm saying, or am I crazy?
No, it has to be Thomas Tuchel.
That's what I was going to say, but it won't be, will it? Well, if it is,
no, it won't be,
wow, there's no going back if it is.
That would have been it.
Oh my gosh, that would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, how does either side reconcile that? I mean,
normally you don't have to move houses.
I mean,
but you would have to.
Everybody kind of got over the Neuer to Bayern thing, back in 2010. Yeah. But it took a long time, and but I don't know if you can successfully manage both sides without completely pissing off?
Well, Tuchel is a technocrat, so he wouldn't have cared what the fans thought. That's what Schalke needs. The Hoop Stevens was a bit like that, right? The Knurrer from Kerkrade. You need someone who just doesn't care about all the stuff that's going on at the club. You know, Gasper mingling, the meat guy, like trying to sell and buy players. You need someone who just doesn't care. And Tuchel can do that. Of course, that ship has sailed. But that's the kind of person you need.
Well, you never know. After week or match day 7, according to Chris, there could be an emergency appointment of Tuchel. No,
get your bets on now.
I
probably get 100 to 1 on that. Throw a tenner on it.
Hey,
Wish me Merry Christmas.
Chris, can you put in a tenner for me, please? Seems like it's worth an investment. Absolutely.
I'm going to go out there just for the Schalke fans and say it's going to be a good appointment. Noel's going to go well, just because everyone else has been so negative, I think. How wrong I'll end up being, probably. But you never know. Let's see what happens. Anyway, but let's move on to transfers then. And yes, Susie, we've obviously been very happy to have you on. You specialise very much in Bayern Munich. And they've had a rather big transfer this Sunday. Well, what exactly can you tell us about this move? It's Serge Gnabry that's moved over from Werder Bremen.
I'm totally psyched. Manuel has talked about it in his article. It's kind of the worst kept secret in Bayern transfer, I guess, news or fandom. He was always eventually going to come to Bayern. It just happened to be a year earlier. To move from the position he was in, like bit player at Arsenal on loan to West Brom, and then to have the Olympics that he did, and then the season that he did with Werder Bremen, and then to get a kid who's only on the up and up for Bayern in a wing position that is under complete contention by the club a year early than they were supposed to get him. I mean, gosh, what's not to love right there? I think it relieves the pressure of the club from having to try and sign Alexis Sanchez, and this is obviously a different conversation, but it's all of course related. And I can see a kind of future with Gnabry and Coman on the wings for Bayern, and I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think he had a phenomenal first half of the season last year, and I think he's a hell of a talent, and I think it's a great signing as well. Manu, you've even wrote an article today on it. What all have you covered in that, and do you think this is as positive as Susie and I have just mentioned?
I think it's fascinating. I think when he activated, or when the release clause was activated, I think it was Friday, right? The destination wasn't actually known yet. When I say it was the worst kept secret, the secret was that Bayern basically paid Arsenal the transfer fee, or part of the transfer fee, in order for Werder to sign him, because Werder didn't have the money last summer to sign Serge Gnabry. As part of that deal, Bayern had an activation clause. It had the first refusal on him to sign him for the release clause that was in his contract. Now, I think what has happened is that there was substantial interest in Gnabry this summer, and that interest came from Hoffenheim and Leipzig. And I think in the end, Bayern moved this deal forward because they knew that he could sign for one of those other two clubs. I heard some talk that there was also thought that Hoffenheim and Leipzig would sign Gnabry, but then that the clause in his contract would stay, that the Bayern would still have first refusal. Now, Leipzig was definitely not going along with that, because Leipzig, we've discussed this many times on this pod before, Leipzig want to become like Bayern. They don't want to become a club that feeds to Bayern. Hoffenheim just lost Süle and Rudi to Bayern, and they want to build long term, so they weren't too keen on this either. So I think what happened is they moved this forward because it was either that or the player could have ended up somewhere else. Now, that said, I think it's a very fascinating move, and I'm curious to see how this works out with Alexis Sanchez, because the word on the street is that they're still interested in Alexis Sanchez. I know, Susie, you're not too keen on Alexis Sanchez for various reasons, and I understand it too, because the entire package is going to be 180 million euros for Sanchez. That's a lot of money. And we're talking, of course, the transfer sum in the region of 80 million, and then 4 years would be another 100 million, because he's supposed to earn 25 million euros a year. Ton of money, a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a player who's 28. And we know the Bundesliga doesn't operate in those levels. The Bundesliga is all about signing younger players that you can work with if you buy in for a long time, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, right? And if you're one of the other teams, you can sign a player and then make money with them. Or even Dortmund now, they're looking at signing these young players for long-term projects. The Bundesliga doesn't operate in this kind of money region. So I can see the wheels turning in the Bayern head office over the last 48 hours. So we have this guy. We have first refusal on him. There's other clubs that want him. Then we have this Chilean guy who is asking for 100 million over 4 years. What are we going to do? We might as well bring this kid in now, right? And sign him. We may still have to sign Sanchez because we need to do something big this summer. But it relieves it's a good negotiation tool. And the thing is too, and I wrote this in the article, if they find out over the summer break that this isn't great, they could just loan him out.
Speaking of Alexis Sanchez, Susie, what's your opinion on that possible transfer? You kind of suggested before that you may not be that keen. Why is that? Is it his style? Is it his cost? His attitude?
Cost, yes. Style, attitude, not necessarily. It's a bad business decision. So going back, I've been really, really critical of Ancelotti's opening season. And so I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but I promise I get to a point, where he's supposed to be a good man manager, and he managed to piss off a half of his staff. He upset Douglas Costa, Frank Ribery. He did nothing with the youth. Jerome Boateng is pissed off as well. Like, for a guy that is supposed to be able to, he's a player's manager. I don't feel like he did the job he was supposed to do. And that leads us to even having to look for a guy like Alexis Sanchez. Right? You guys with me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you, because Jerome Boateng is a good example. I've written an article just recently about this, and we chatted about this, right, Susie? But people were like, "What? Jerome Boateng wants to go, but he does." But
he's not going.
Well, this is the thing. But he does want to go, and I mean,
why does he want to go?
He doesn't feel appreciated.
Would you agree with that?
It's the craziest kind of thing. Okay, so you guys saw he came over to the States, and he was on Men in Blazers, which is not something I particularly watch, and did a show on one of the radio shows on Sirius XMFC, which is our satellite radio, the footy channel. So I'm assuming he's going to meet with, his agents in the office over here.
We have to mention who his agent is too. It's Jay-Z, right?
Yeah.
He is. Yeah. He is being. His agency is with JC, which is, of course, the agency not only helps him with transfer matters, but also in this entire image campaign, etc. So, he is a player who sees himself as a big part at Bayern, and he doesn't feel he has that big part right now.
Right. So it, and then I know we argued about it, and I'm going to be really steadfast and say that he's not going, whether he wants to or not. But I understand what you're saying, Manuel, about the whole situation. But anyway, he's a topic in and of itself. But if he leaves, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not going to be a fan, but I think it would be an absolutely horrible, horrible decision. And I don't see Ancelotti really doing anything positive for the club. They've regressed in tactics and pissed everybody off. And now you have a world-class center back that wants to leave the club. I mean, come on, what are you doing? And then you're chasing a guy that you have to pay 60 million plus on the transfer market. And then with these amazingly ostentatious wage demands as well. Bayern, I mean, they can afford to pay Sanchez 25 million, but not without a complete revolt by everybody else at the club. I mean, how does this make financial sense or anything? And then even going beyond that, it's 28 years old.
Yeah, that's why I'm struggling. The 20-year-old factor, that's too old. We're lucky that 33-year-old Robin is now the most fit he's ever been in his life. Is that going to happen with Sanchez? I mean, nobody can say that. Those figures are ridiculous. I mean, it's dumb. And one thing that Bayern really aren't, they're not horrible businessmen. I know they're kind of weird on the transfer market, but I think that they lose when they sell players, because if players don't want to be a part, they're just like, all right, F off, go wherever you want. We'll approve it. Just get out.
Would you say that maybe the likes of the young players that they do have coming through, and obviously with Robin and Ribery not getting any younger, that maybe Sanchez coming in at that age, he would be a very expensive one, but almost almost a bridge between those two, kind of going their way out, even though they're still playing very well. But it kind of ties them over with a bit of experience and a high quality player until the other players are that good and that experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that on a certain
100
level,
million,
but not for the amount of money, because so Ribery's been extended. It's Robin's last year, and Ribery's got 1+. I don't, and he's always going to want to play Ribery, and when he's fit, Ancelotti will always play him because he's Ancelotti. So I'm not sure that a bridge like Sanchez makes any sort of sense whatsoever.
It's too costly.
Yeah, he's too costly. And thinking about the way that Carlo manages the squad, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
So you don't see Boateng and Sanchez doing a swap deal now?
Oh my God, I would shoot myself.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Boateng will not go to Arsenal.
No, he's definitely not going to Arsenal.
The name that you hear here is Chelsea, because Conte is a big fan, and Chelsea has the kind of money. Chelsea have been very business smart, and I could see Boateng being attracted to that London lifestyle too.
But I mean, maybe Pep's worked with Boateng before. Would he like him there, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, Boateng already had his stint at Man City.
Yeah, and he has voiced his opinion on living in Manchester quite openly in the press here. So I don't think that's for him. It will be London, if anywhere else, if that. But this is an interesting debate, because Bayern are Bayern, and they want to make that splash on the transfer market, and the only player that can give them a huge amount of money right away is Boateng, because Douglas Costa, if they sell him, and then they are going to sell him, I'm certain they will sell him for the amount of money that they bought him for. They bought him for 30, and they will get 30 for him now. Then they're not going to get huge amount of cash for him, or more cash than they paid for him. So they're really the only player that could give them a huge transfer plus. And remember, Bayern are always keen on having money left at the end of the year, right? would be to move Boateng and then bring in someone like Sanchez. I'm totally with you, Susie. The more I think about it, it's not a smart business decision. The feeling here in Munich is, other than talking about what's going on at 1860, has been the fact that Bayern, people want the squad to be more German, and signing Süle and Rudi and now Gnabry, Goretzka, who's coming next year at the latest. Those are the kind of players that the people here want to see. And I can see why, to have that strong German core has always been something that has really made the club excellent. And I can see why people kind of want to see that again.
I'm definitely not going to disagree with you. I like that Bayern. I like the German core because I think it also bodes well for the national side too. Would you agree?
Yeah, it has. I mean, this has been one of the biggest assets. Traditionally, right. Germany's national team has been one or two clubs thrown together.
Right.
Usually Dortmund or Bayern, and before that it was Bayern and Bremen, and before that it was Bayern and Gladbach. But that was always, two or three of the big teams basically fielded the entire national team. Right.
And why the national team has been so successful over the years as well. I like that. And I like the fact that even though Bayern is one of the top 5 money clubs in the entire world, and they have the money for these huge transfers, they do. It's there. The fact that they're still looking for young talent or still looking for German talent or still, they don't promote youth. They're crap at that, and they have been for years now. But the fact that they're not splashing, 70 million, 60 million on players, I think there's something to be said for that.
And Susie, if we just have one final question before we see out the pod. Which areas do you think Bayern need to invest in, and do you see it being likely, or is there any particular players or transfers that you would like to see happen with them?
Oh gosh. So with Costa out likely and Gnabry in, second striker is absolutely the number one target for me and for anyone else. I think it's silly not to have that option. It's just, that's bad. Unfortunately, it's such a position where Lewandowski is almost never injured that it's really, really difficult to fill. So you're looking for a veteran guy. I would have thought somebody like Huntelaar would have been perfect for the role. Right? You need a veteran guy that can come in and do some business and is content to sit on the bench most of the time and pick up, 2-3 million a year. And not, it can't be young because they all want to play, and it can't be somebody too good because they're not as good as Lewandowski, so that's a really, really tough role to fill. I think that's the most important role that they have to fill. Other than that, the talk about Verratti, where are you going to put him? It doesn't make any sense. So it's a stacked midfield with unhappy people in it already. I mean, you can't just snap up people for no reason with no place to put them, with no spots to put them into. Look at what happened with Renato Sanchez.
It would if we just move to Chris very quickly, and then we'll see if you agree with it, Susie. Chris, would you say that Lukaku to Bayern Munich would make sense?
Yes, so I wrote an article that's on Fußballstat now, which was what sort of fit would Romelu Lukaku have at Bayern Munich. I think he'd be an excellent fit. He links up well with those around him. I think if he came in, it would force the hand to go 3-5-2. I know we talked about it didn't really work very well at at Dortmund. However, when it has worked, it's needed a couple of real strong players on the spine, most notably in the centre of the three and the middle of the five, and your two up front need to be top-notch. I think Lukaku would work excellently with Lewandowski, and I think that would be a formidable force. I think he would be a perfect fit because at some point with Bayern aging, and I almost feel they're in sort of a transitional period, you've got an eye that Nagelsmann may come in either a year or a year and a half, and his obviously preferred formation is 3-5-2, and he does it excellently. I think if Bayern went out and signed Lukaku now and brought him in and went on that sort of change to 3-5-2, I think Bayern could be unstoppable in Europe, definitely. And I think it would add a bit of a mix to the Bundesliga challenge that they're facing.
This is, Chris, this is really interesting. Oh, and yes, Lukaku in a 3-5-2 would be... I'm over here giggling. I'm rubbing my hands together. Like, can't wait to get my little grubby little hands on that formation. I see the merit, even without Lukaku, of a 3-5-2 at Bayern. Just with the personnel and the talent that are there, especially with Süle coming in. So I'd have a diamond midfield with Süle as center back and Boateng and Hummels flanking him. Put Javi Martinez at that back point. Thiago in the center, flanked by Kimmich and Alaba. Possibly Müller at the top. I mean, this is just kind of random off the top of my head. And Robin and Lewandowski up top.
Well, I think, Susie, you said you weren't feeling too good, but rhyming off that dream formation has seemed to have done it for you, I think. Seems to have pulled you around a little bit.
All right. Absolutely.
But yeah, guys, I think we can wrap it up there. Let's hope that some of these transfers come our way, especially for Susie's sake. I think it's going to be an interesting and exciting summer amongst the Bundesliga sides. But yeah, we'll do our shout outs, I think, and then we will call it a day. Susie, where can people find your stuff, whether it's on Twitter or if you're writing anything or doing anything else? Where can people find you?
Sure thing. Okay, my Twitter handle is Fussballsusie, FUSSBALLSUSIE. I am doing editing work and social media for In Bed with Maradona, and I'm also now the co-host of their new podcast they're starting as well, which I'm very excited to delve into. IBWM at In Bed WI Maradona on Twitter. And then I do some senior writing on Bayern for Bayern Central, self-explanatory, and opine on Bayern as well for Bundesliga for You, or a Bundesliga fanatic.
Well, Susie, I can speak for the guys, and I'll say thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's been great fun.
Pleasure.
I'll just go to the other two fellas. You guys always have plenty going on. Chris, what have you maybe been involved with this week that you would like to plug?
Well, obviously I read the article on Lukaku going to not potentially going, but how would he be a good fit at Bayern? So that's on there. I've got a massive editorial deadline to meet a Portugal preview for the Confederations Cup, which will be done by tomorrow, Manu, and released tomorrow. So I can get that on air, that will be done. That's the biggest deadline I've had all year.
There's a man under pressure right there.
Under pressure.
Manu, what have you got going on? You always have plenty of articles and whatnot. When do you actually go to the Confederations Cup?
Friday. I'm flying Friday to Russia, so I'll be there for 4 group stage games, opening game in St. Petersburg, 3 games in Moscow, semi-final in Kazan, final in St. Petersburg. All of that in 14 days. It's going to be busy, but very good. We're going to have tons of coverage on Fußballstadt.com. Football Grad, of course, all the previews are up except for Chris's. So
just to put that out there.
Save the best to last.
And that said, Portugal was supposed to go last anyway, so he's still good. So we have a big preview on the entire tournament, and then we have previews on all the single countries out on footballgrad.com. And then, of course, on Fußballstadt.com, we we'll do all the German coverage from the tournament, and Football Grad, you'll find coverage from all the other countries going to be at Russia. Russia in particular, the Russian Federation, Andrew Flynn, who does the Football Grad podcast, and I will do podcasts from Russia as well. And then Football Zidage, Mexico. We'll cover those guys as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very busy 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, we look forward to reading it all and hearing just how busy you are on Football Stats and Football Grads. And we also look forward to that preview, Chris, as well. But I've been your host, Bryce Dunn. You can find me on Twitter at BryceDunn11. The only thing I've got to plug, I suppose, at the moment is the Go Lats podcast, which Manu and I have been doing about Mexican football. So you're interested in Liga MX and anything else Mexican football related, maybe check that out. So there'll be another one coming out midweek. Last week we spoke about Fernando Torres going to Liga MX. Quite interesting. But that more or less does it for this week on Gegenpressing. Until next week, auf Wiedersehen.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen, dich abzuholen.
Let's be real, dealing with tangled cords can make it harder to do your hair. Break free with the new Unbound Cordless Auto Curler from Conair. Get the curls and waves you want, anytime, anywhere. It's designed to let you experience the power and freedom of beauty in motion. No cords to hold you back. You get your curls and waves your way. Unplug and be unbound. Loose curls, tight curls, beachy waves. The Unbound Cordless Auto Curler makes it easy to get the looks you love. Love your look. Live unbound. Available at Conair.com and search Unbound.
It wouldn't be the holiday season if there wasn't candy, right? Celebrate the holiday season with the Holiday Crush. They've sprinkled candy with a holiday theme and fun-packed challenges every week for 5 whole weeks, finishing on January 4th. The more challenges you complete, the better your chances of unwrapping delicious rewards. So, are you ready to crush the holidays? Play the Holiday Crush now. Download it from the App Store, Google Play, or Windows Store for free. Terms and conditions apply. It wouldn't be the holiday season if there wasn't candy, right? Celebrate the holiday season with the Holiday Crush. They've sprinkled candy with a holiday theme and fun-packed challenges every week for 5 whole weeks, finishing on January 4th. The more challenges you complete, the better your chances of unwrapping delicious rewards. So, are you ready to crush the holidays? Play the Holiday Crush now. Download it from the App Store, Google Play, or Windows Store for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.